jalapeno does got me riled up a little bit. Well, hi, you guys. Welcome back to Grounding, Growing, and Gardening. I thought we would do something maybe a little different today. It is I can see some blue in the sky. I saw a rainbow out earlier when I was driving around, but it's been a pretty rainy, cold, yucky southern day. Oh, goodness. It's one of those days you didn't want to get out of bed, but I had something important to do this morning. And so I got up early and had a meeting with a woman who is pretty well known in my area. She's amazing. And this is the first time I've really gotten to chat with her in several years. And it had me thinking about manifestation. Because she's one of those people that she kind of can do what she wants. You know, she doesn't have as much money as God, or Taylor Swift. but she's well off. She's set and she's comfortable, and she is very interested and involved in growing and developing our downtown area into something that is beautiful, which has been an ongoing process for, I guess the last 10 years or so. We have one of those little sleepy towns that could have died off, but we had several people move into the area who were very interested in making sure that our town thrived. And as they did that, I was actually working at a restaurant in the area. I did delivery driving for one of our restaurants for 4 or 5 years, I guess, off and on. And while I owned my own business, my dance studio, and I worked for them during the lunch hour. It was a job I loved. I loved that job because it allowed me to interact with people, that really cared about our community. And of course, I saw a lot of people that were on the other end of the spectrum too, but more often than not, the people that I was interacting with on a daily basis were people who were, interested and focused on community growth, lifting each other up. And a lot of them would align themselves probably with secular religion, and wouldn't think about things the way that I do. And that's okay, right? Like, we all have our own path, and that's super important. I think it's super important anyway. So this morning I was chatting with her, and we were discussing some plans that I have for a community project that I'm working on, and some plans that she had that didn't, oh my gosh, that jalapeno is still in my throat, that didn't come to fruition in the way that she wanted it to at the time that she was thinking about it. And it was so interesting because she wasn't thinking about, I even dropped some keywords, right, to see if that was the line of thought that she was coming from, and it really wasn't. But what she has done, you and I would call manifestation. And so, like I said, some of her dreams are still in the works. I don't even know how old she is, but probably in her 70s, I would guess. Late 60s, early 70s. And she hasn't slowed down. She doesn't have any intention of slowing down. She is going to thrive until she is no longer needed on this planet, and which I so admire. I think that's so beautiful and so wonderful. And so we were talking about this plan that she had to create a space that was kind of a community space where people could come together and dance and enjoy just socialization, and that had never been, it had never come to fruition because it had never been the right time. And that's not exactly how she was saying it, but it really was what she was meaning, that, you know, other things that were really more important at the time had come about, and she has literally changed the face of a whole section of our hometown. I'm not going to say single-handedly, because she would not even give herself that much credit, but working with other people who really care about this community and creating an abundance for the people that live here, an abundance of places to go and eat, places to go and do shopping, places to just wander around and look at the gorgeous, beautiful things that our city offers, our little town offers. And so I wanted to talk with you guys about what we do, or what we should do. I don't like that word, should. What we can do. That's it. That's better. What we can do when we are not seeing the manifestations that we have been visualizing coming into our life. And hello, Bella. My Bella may come join us. She's thinking about it. But what we can do when things are coming into contrast and not so positive in our day-to-day life, or we have come up against a wall and you have to change direction, or, you know, just bad junk, right? What things that we as humans would label bad, which after a lifetime of learning and a lot of uncomfortable situations, a lot of loss of things, but also people, whether that be, you know, them moving away from me because our time together was done, or that be literally like the loss of people. I know a few of you watched a video that I posted right before Christmas that I actually pulled down, but I lost my brother, and I've lost my father, and I lost a person that I loved deeply to their own hands. Put it that way. YouTube doesn't like certain words, you know. But I've lived in, I lived in a state of depression for years. And I was okay in the outside world, like I would manage, but then in reality, like I was really, really, really depressed. And even in that time of depression, I was manifesting. I didn't know it. I wasn't doing it on purpose, but I was creating things around me that were drawing more negativity to me. I remember at one point in time when I was running my dance studio back before I closed it in 2015, my husband at the time, who was a very negative-minded person and complained a lot. He reminds me of a family member that I love but am not in contact with right now. And he had just changed jobs and gone from making $16 or $17 an hour back in, you know, like 2014, 2015 to $8 an hour because he wanted to leave the job that he was in. And so that the job that he was leaving, he would get overtime every single week. He had a position where he got to do a couple of special things, and so there were extra bonuses every single month. And we had gotten used to that, and we had gotten comfortable in that. And at the same time that he was doing that, or actually just a few months before he was doing that, I had moved my dance studio from a building that I loved and wanted to buy, but that he just insisted that we couldn't afford it, even though it would have been very affordable if I had decided to purchase it at the time, into a building that we actually could not afford to pay the rent on without cutting into my salary so much that I was probably working in studio. I was working like 27 hours a week. Outside the studio, I was probably working another 15, or some weeks 25. So I was working, you know, somewhere between 40 and 60 hours a week, depending on the week. And I was bringing home less than $1,000 a month. And had gone from the other building where the rent was much cheaper, and we had actually a few less students, but I wasn't having to work quite as much, and I was bringing home the majority of my income instead of putting it into rent. So during that time period, there was a lot of, we can't afford this, and that's blah, 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 all of that stuff, like that you say to yourself, that you say to your partner, you argue, you know, people argue about money, like that's the biggest, oh, hang on, my kiddo's here.
Kind of weird. Like, video feels like this, like, that's video. That's what it feels like. Self is just like, I don't know, but that's the biggest part of that.
That's funny. Hey, would you do me a favor and check and make sure that I'm actually in this shot? Because I have filmed several things recently where I am with it.
Yes, you are.
Okay, cool.
Just for you.
So yeah, so bags are in the bag drawer, and then I haven't taken the Barbies out of your tin, but you can just take them out and set them with the other ones on the next to the stove, or you can put them on the island, or you can put them in the living room or stuff, whatever you want to do.
After the kitchen.
Yeah. And then as far as the fire, we'll wait a few days because the wood won't cut good with lots of wet. So we'll give it a few days to kind of start to dry out, and we'll just watch the weather. If we need to, we can always pull the wet logs or the limbs, they're not logs, to the garden house, and then just let them be drying in there. So when I was with him in that situation, what we were drawing to us was more and more and more lack. And it did not get better. It got worse and worse and worse. And in all honesty, that was a relationship that needed to end. It wasn't a place where either of us could grow, and it became physically dangerous after a while. So that's one situation, one example of when we can be trying to manifest. I mean, I was working hard on my business, and I loved my dance studio. I loved my kids. I had a group of them that they had really become like my own, like extended children of mine. And several of them I still talk to on a regular basis, and they know that I adore them, and they're all adults now. But I would really, I mean, if they called me and said, hey, you know, I need something, if I had it, I would give it to them. And if I could do it for them, I would. And they know that. And we love each other dearly. But it broke my heart to leave them. But I just couldn't see a way out of the situation that we had put ourselves in. And part of it was rushing. If I had stayed in my building, the guy that was my landlord didn't actually sell my building for a couple of years. He just wanted to. And if I had offered to buy it, he would have sold it to me. But if I had told him, I want to stay here until you sell it, I probably could have stayed there for 2 more years. And it would have been just fine. But instead, I panicked. And I jumped ship. And I did something that seemed better, but was more like fool's gold, you know? And so it took me a long time to get back to the place where I could look around and be like, you know, this thing happened and it was not cool, but this is a lesson. And I truly believe rejection is a blessing. Rejection is protection. And I truly believe that everything that we have happen in our lives is planned for the most part. You can get yourself off track. You can be on the right track and do what I did and jump ship and cause chaos, cause, you know, lack in your life. And that guy and I, that my ex-husband and I, I wasn't that way before I met him. I was really confident in myself, and I believed that if I put my mind to anything, I could do it. And up to that point, generally, things had worked out for me. But there was an opportunity for us to split up in 2016, and well, there was an opportunity in 2015 too, and we didn't take either one of those. And you know, the door was open, it was there, and we actually did split up. He moved out twice, and then my lack mindset kept pushing me back to him, and I was scared that I couldn't do it on my own. I had 3 kids at home. One that is my bonus baby that he brought into the relationship. But when he left, when he finally did up and walk away, he left him here too. And so I had 3 kiddos, and they were kids at the time. And of course, things have happened since then that I'm so grateful for. Like if I hadn't had all of that negativity happen, I would not have my youngest baby. I was done having kids, and there were a lot of things that needed to line up for my youngest to be born, and I am so grateful for her every single day. And right now I'm in a situation where justice didn't necessarily prevail, and people didn't do, in my opinion, what their job titles say they're supposed to do. And some things have happened that I would assume that the majority of people that know about what's going on would be like, why is she happy right now? She shouldn't be happy right now. She should be depressed right now. But I'm not. And one reason I'm not is because I choose to not be. Now, that does not mean that there are not moments where I am really sad. And I had a situation. Well, I was under the weather from just after Christmas, and then it really hit me hard. I wasn't giving myself time to heal, and it really hit me hard around New Year's Eve. And again, I didn't give myself time to heal. I had things to do, and then it just, I woke up last Thursday morning, and I was in physical pain. I was sick as a dog, and also my insurance was messed up. And so even though I have insurance, for some reason it wasn't working, and I've still not quite figured that out completely. So I wasn't able to even go to the doctor. And on my way home from going to try to get into the clinic, I realized, okay, I have an ear infection. I know that's what's wrong with me. I also have mullein at home, and I have elderberry, and I have an abundance of garlic, and I can help myself. And so that's what I did. I came home, and I, for 3 days straight, drank like a gallon of homemade healing tea a day, and then I felt better. And I'm still a little congested. I'm still a little clogged up. I probably would not advise that if you don't have experience healing yourself that you try to do that. But I knew I had on hand the things that my body needed, and I used them. And with the intention of, we're going to get this insurance thing worked out, and I'm going to go to the doctor on Monday, and everything's going to be okay. Well, before Monday came, I felt better. So, but I was just chatting with my oldest. You may have noticed there was a little interruption there, and which is the best kind of interruption with your kiddos. But I have to be reminded all the time that I live in an abundance. I have an abundance of free time. I haven't had what everybody else would call a real job in several years, and I've been super blessed to be able to stay at home with my youngest. And be there for her while those, first few formative years. I have an abundance of marigold seeds that I harvested a couple of years ago and have just been sitting waiting for me to do something with them. I have an abundance of creative ideas, sometimes so many that I have to really make myself focus in and make sure that I'm trying to tackle one thing at a time, because I am the kind of person that can be a little bit of a butterfly and kind of all over the place. And so when I went to that meeting this morning, I was so excited because I knew in my soul I had manifested this. I had been thinking about this kind of a meeting with this person for going on 5 years now. She and I had discussed this kind of a program back in 2018, and then in all reality, I was not in the mindset to be ready for it. And she had other things that the universe needed her to be doing, and now it's time. And it's still going to take time to get all of the details worked out, to have everything lined up, to be ready to announce the opening of this program. But I know that for the last 5 years, well, it's 2024, so the last almost 6 years, I have been manifesting this. And so that's the thing, if you have ever been in a church, you've probably heard somebody say, God will give you what you need, not what you want. The universe doesn't have the same kind of discernment that you and I do. The universe does not understand sarcasm. It only understands magnetism, I guess is a good way to put it. You can't tell the universe, I don't want any more of this, and expect the universe to be like, oh, you don't want? It's going to be like, oh, you want? Oh, okay, here you go. Here you go. Here's some more of that. So if you are a person who sits around and focuses on the lack, who is dealing with mental health issues, or just a generalized feeling of disappointment in your own life, or the things that you're coming up against, I would suggest that you try to, even if it's in little tiny steps, to move forward in a way where you are seeing the positive in the negative. Instead of being like, why is this happening to me? What can I learn from this situation? I have always been really good at discerning pretty quickly whether a job was where I was supposed to be. And if you looked at my resume, you would be like, man, she a job hopper. Well, I guess if you want to call me that. But really what it is if I get into a situation that looks good on paper and then is not healthy for me, I am not going to stay there. I got a job in the beginning of 2021. I was working in the city, and so I was commuting almost 3 hours round trip, which might seem just absolutely ludicrous, but it was a position that was not available here in my local area at the time. I was working as a dance teacher, and on paper, that job was perfect for me. I was the head teacher at the studio. I was making $32 an hour. I was working enough hours at a time that it made it worth my drive to be there. And after just under a month, I realized that the people that I was working for were not the kind of people that I would send my kid to dance at. And so I didn't want to be there anymore, because if I wouldn't take my own child into this building because of the way the adults are acting, I don't want to be associated with that. So I quit. And then they didn't want to pay me. And so I had to spend, I guess it took me about 2.5 months to get my final paycheck, which was almost $1,000. They just were not gonna. And I was at a place at that point in time where I was still very angry and handling things with frustration, and I finally got out of it what I deserved, but it took way too long because of the resistance that I was creating. I was telling people, these people don't want to pay me the money that they owe me. Well, the more I said, these people don't want to pay me the money that they owe me, the more that energy was out there in space, and the more resistance I was creating. And if I had just decided they're going to send me my paycheck and that's going to be the end of it, that's what would have happened. But I created that resistance, right? Like, I truly believe that thoughts become things. I mean, quantum physics has proven so many things that used to be considered, and a lot of people don't understand these correlations, but that used to be considered woo-woo, spiritual, pseudoscience garbage. And quantum physics is now saying, no, we do have an energy field around us, right? We do have the understanding through scientific recognition that thoughts move faster than the speed of light. That when you remove human cells from a human body and you take them miles and miles and miles away from that human, and then you show that human images, either disturbing or beautiful, that the cells that have been removed from not only the person but the area respond to the stimuli that the human is going through at that time. So we really have to be aware of what we are allowing in to our line of sight, so to speak, and how our thoughts are affecting our reality on a daily basis. Now, you can be manifesting something while also creating a de-manifestation of it at the same time. Because if you say, I'm going to get a new car, you know what kind of car you want, and every day you tell yourself, I'm going to get a new car. But then you go around and you start telling really negative people, whether they're intentionally negative or not, about this new car. Those people are like, whatever, Sally's not getting a new car. That's stupid. How would Sally afford a new car, right? Like, and you're just like, why is my car not here? Where is my car? I've been manifesting my car. I've gotten this new job that pays me enough money to get the car. Where is the car? Where is the car? Well, the car's not there yet because you spread your energy out so far that the car can't come to you yet. I started manifesting a Hyundai Tiburon when I was a senior. I was a senior in high school, or the summer between junior and senior year. And I told everybody. I described it to people, anybody that would listen. I'm getting this car. Finally, I gave up because the car wasn't coming. Y'all, I had gone online. This is back when, we still had Napster, right? And I had gone online and gotten the Tiburon, the Hyundai company, to send me a poster of my car. I put it up on my wall in my bedroom at my mom's house, and like, this car was coming. I had seen The Secret. I knew what was going on, right? But I kept giving the information to the wrong people. And so it was 7 years. But one day I woke up and I was like, I need a new car. My car that I loved had broken down, and it was time for a new car. And so I went online and I was looking, and I had found the car that I wanted, and I didn't think I could afford it, right? there's that block. There's that, as Abraham Hicks would say, that engine on the wrong end of the train. And so I went over, there was another one that was in my price range that, you know, I had X amount of dollars in my bank account and I wanted to pay cash. And so I went over and I looked at that other one, and it was run over, what's that old saying? Rode hard and put up wet. It was garbage. And they wanted, I mean, I told the guy, he said, you want to test drive it? I said, not really. I'm not buying this. And he was like, well, why not? And I was like, do you see the price you got on it? I wouldn't pay half that for this car. This car is, a kid, a teenage boy drove this car, and I can tell you that just by looking at it. I don't want that. And so I went ahead and test drove it, and he did his car salesman thing where he was going to get me in that car no matter what. And I was like, So I left that dealership, and I was just driving around and pulled into the actual Hyundai dealership. Y'all, there was that car that I had seen online, my Tiburon. It was perfect, right? And they wanted a little bit more than I wanted to pay, and so we worked it out. The guy asked me if I wanted to test drive it, and I said, heck yeah, let's go. And as soon as I got in the driver's seat, I was like, here we are, baby. I have been waiting for you for 7 years. Here you are. Here you are mine. This is my car. And he was like, well, you know, it is a standard. And I was like, no problem. No big deal. That's what I'm looking for. And he was like, really? Like, he looked at me, you know, like, oh, this little girl didn't know how to drive a stick. And I showed him. And y'all, I came home that night, discussed the price difference between what I had and what I needed, which was about $2,500 to get into that car. And I went back the next day, and that car was mine. And then I forgot a few months later. I had a breakup, and I started living in lack again, and I attracted my ex-husband, Mr. That's not how the universe works. You don't know what you're talking about. We don't have enough. And I spent 8 years or so in a situation that I never had to put myself in. I never had to be in that situation. But I did. And then I got out of that situation and thought I was doing good, and then I put myself in another one. Another situation where my partner didn't understand me. He can't see things from my point of view. We are very different people, and bless his heart, it's not his fault, but the lessons that he signed up to learn in this life are not my lessons. And so I go through moments, right? Like, I had to take someone to a doctor's appointment the other day, and they are very much in a woe is me, everything is against me mindset. And it took me almost 4 days to get myself back into flow. And finally, at the end of that 4 days, I called my grandmother, and I was like, I was crying, and I was just like, my heart hurts. And she just started talking, and I started listening. And by the time we got off the phone, my little one was calling. So I talked to her, and then I decided, you know what? I'm just going to go ride around for a little bit. I'm just going to get out of the house, and I'm going to maybe grab a Dr. Pepper from the store, or, you know, but I enjoy driving. And so I got in the car, and I turned my music up, and I was listening to my intuition, spirit, whatever you want to call it, and I was only listening to music that was uplifting and not church music, like pop music, right? Like, I was jamming out on like today's hits, Pandora, and but if a song came on and it didn't have the right vibe, skip it. Even if I love that song, skip it. Within 30 minutes, I was so happy again. And I came home and I made myself dinner and it was delicious. And I opened my Facebook, which I never go on Facebook. And there was a message from the lady that I had the appointment with this morning. And I was like, all right, here we go. So coming from someone who has been diagnosed with depression, although I would say that it was actually situationally, like I was grieving. And we live in a society where they just would rather push medication than help the 18-year-old whose boyfriend just committed suicide through the grieving process. And even saying that, right? Like, that's not the society I want to live in. I want to live in a society where we help each other. We help each other heal, and we help each other move forward. And so that's it's just reframing. It's just reframing the way we talk. It's reframing the way we think. It's reframing the way you allow yourself to think. You have something like 60,000 thoughts a day. You get to choose which ones you latch onto. And you may be like, whatever, I don't get to choose which thoughts I latch onto. But you do. No one can make you do anything but you. You are your own captain of your own ship. And if you decide that you want to sit around and think about that person that hurt your feelings, or you want to focus on the fact that, you know, maybe you have a relationship with someone, whether it's a family member or a friend or a romantic partner that's not going the way you want it, if you keep on sitting there and thinking about it, and it's going to keep getting worse, and it might get better for a little while, and then it'll get worse again. But I challenge you to, for the next, let's say 5 days, if something pops in your head and it starts to build up that feeling in your chest, that anger or that frustration, I challenge you to redirect your mind onto something that makes you happy. Even if it is something as dumb as going to the store and getting a Dr. Pepper, right? If that makes you happy, do it. And you're like, well, I don't need to spend money on that right now. Old me would have said, I'm broke. I'm not broke. I just don't need to spend money on that right now, right? Reframe it. Reframe it. Go for a walk. Call your best friend. Get off social media. Not saying that there aren't benefits. I love social media. I'm here with you guys right now, right? But at the same time, like, we have so much more to be grateful for, and media in general wants us to be afraid and wants us to live in worry and stress, and creates things that we know aren't even real. I mean, there's protesting going on. Have you guys seen the protesting overseas where they're dumping the literal poo in front of the government buildings? And I've seen media that said it was Italy, and I've seen media that said it was France, and I've seen media that said it was Germany. The same videos. So they want us to stay riled up, because when we stay riled up and we stay angry at each other and we stay pointing the fingers at other people and we stay in that mindset, we are easier to control. But when you decide to take your power back and step into a place of gratitude, even if that gratitude is for your dog or your mom, or the fact that you have a roof over your head and your bills are paid for this month, or, you know, that you like talking to the lady at the gas station, right? There was a while that's what made me happy, was like those little chats with the lady at the gas station. And I would go when I knew she was working, because she made me happy. And it can take time. It can take years to manifest a new life for yourself, but you can do it. You really, really can. And all it takes is a little determination and the decision that I'm going to be better. I'm going to feel better, and I'm going to let myself listen to my intuition. I'm going to let myself know when it's time to do the right thing, when it's time to be quiet. Sometimes, have you ever been around that person and then you were in a good mood and now all of a sudden you are listing off every bad thing that's ever happened to you? Stop talking to that person. Stop it. Cut it out. Go to a different gas station. Get a new friend. Or don't. Be by yourself. When I quit drinking, I thought I was going to be the loneliest person. And it took me several months to realize that I love being alone because I don't have to sit and listen to other people complain about their lives. Because what do most people do? And it's not their fault, right? It's not like they're doing it on purpose. It's not like they even realize what they're doing. It's just the way we've been conditioned as humans to relate with each other. And if you live in joy, people look at you crazy. Like, what do you got to be happy about? Well, I got this, 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 and this. But honestly, if I share those things with you right now, you're going to send your negative energy toward them, and then I'm going to have to work harder to get back to where I need to be. So I think I'm just going to keep my mouth shut. I think I'm just going to go home. And I literally will tell people, like there people will be like, well, what are you doing? Oh, nothing. What have you been up to? You know, just hanging out. Because they don't really care. And if you're too happy, they're going to send you negative energy, whether they mean to or not. They're going to be like, well, I don't know what she's got to be happy about. Her life looks like it sucks. Or why is she so lucky? While I'm over here being like, why am I so lucky? Why am I so lucky? Even if, from a human perspective, I maybe don't have so much to be grateful for. Every single day I have something to be grateful for. And the more grateful that I feel, the more there is to be grateful for. So yeah. That's it. Take 5 days and say thank you. You don't even have to say it out loud. Just start saying it in your head. Thank you for the roof over my head. Thank you for the warm bath that I get to take tonight. Thank you for the little old man at the grocery store that made me laugh when he told me that silly joke. Thank you for getting me home from work safe. Thank you for... And if you are just saying thank you to you, you don't have to be thanking a specific deity. You don't have to be thanking anybody. Just say thank you, right? I'm not telling you that you need a religion. I'm telling you that you need hope. You need hope, and you need the confidence to believe that quantum physics, aka magic, is real. Because it is. And the scientists have shown us that it is. I mean, all these people that are like, that's the devil's work. Okay, then why did the universe use it to create itself? I mean, honestly, if numerology is evil, then why is the whole universe made up of 9 numbers? Why does the Fibonacci sequence work? Right? Why does light travel as fast as it does? Like, there are all of these things that if you really start looking, you'll see that everything is magic. Everything is magic. And magic is a word that humans have a lot of humans have a negative connotation with. And if you don't like that word, don't use it. use something else. Use manifestation, or use nothing. You don't have to label it, right? You do not have to label what you're doing, and you don't have to tell anybody. It would probably be better if you don't tell anybody what you're doing, and just do it. Because as long as you're keeping your energy focused, you're gonna get there. You're gonna go where you want to go, and it may take time, and you may get off track, and you may get distracted with life, being a human, and you will have days that suck. That is a guarantee. That you're gonna have days where you're like, I just don't want it today. And on those days, if you can just keep breathing, then you won. Because the good feelings will come back. And it's normal to grieve, especially if you have lost someone you love, or a situation that you thought was right for you. Grieving is normal. We're so focused on tactile things in our life, and we as Americans don't really allow ourselves time to grieve. We gotta get back to work. You buried your kid yesterday, but you gotta go back to work tomorrow. Like, that's unhealthy. That's not normal. That's not the way things should go. But we live here. We live here in this society where a lot of times that's what we gotta do. We don't have time. But we have to make time. We have to make time to give ourselves the love that we need. Because as cliche as it is, if you can't truly love you, you can't love anybody in the right way. In the way that they need you to love them. And I've seen that with me. It took me a long time to heal from and I think I still am healing from past relationships and bad choices that I made. And I've watched people that I love go from being, maybe not necessarily good people for me, but good people in general, to bitter, angry people, because they refuse to let themselves heal. They refuse to forgive themselves for things that are in the past, and things that other people aren't blaming them for, but they won't let it go. And they might even say out loud that they think that they have, but they haven't. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, live in abundance. I'm not going to finish this tonight. I have other things to do. But abundance is all around you. And I hope this helped you, even just a teeny tiny bit, because we are all on a journey, and the more we can help each other, the faster we will all get to where we're supposed to be. But while we're doing it, let's try to enjoy the ride, okay? Anyway, as always, stay grounded, keep growing, and don't forget to water yourselves. Thank you guys for being here with me. I'll see you next time.